Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the library tour of Doom, where Lord Ganesha and I are taking you on a tour of every book that has ever touched my fingers, including the ones that touch my finger when I scroll like this, my ebooks. Was originally going to do just an ordinary library tour, and then I was going to do a kind of slower library tour, and now I'm doing the slowest possible library tour, one book a day, until we're all old and gray. And today we're going back to 1985, when all the world made sense. We're going to a great Iowa writer. We're going to science fiction. This is David Drake, his novel Killer, which he wrote with Carl Edward Wagner, his friend Carl Edward Wagner. And it is the story of a beastmaster, a Roman beastmaster in the reign of the Emperor Domitian, a man named Lycon, whose skill is to gather animals for the arena, for the blood sport of the arena in Rome. And as such, he deals with a whole bunch of third and fourth parties, trappers, retailers, wholesalers, managers of caravans, all that sort of thing. And it comes to his attention right away at the beginning of this book that his friend Vonones, who runs such a caravan, has a creature in his caravan that he doesn't like at all, that no one likes. None of the animals like it. They're all insane with rage to kill it. He calls it a lizard ape because it looks like nothing he's ever seen before. Looks kind of like a man, but it definitely isn't. It has a scaly blue skin. And it doesn't speak, it doesn't make normal sounds, it eats ravenously, and he has to keep it alone because all the other animals seem viscerally repulsed by it. And at first, he just wants to show it to Lycon, just wants to get his impressions. We have Lycon asks him, why did you weld the cage shut instead of putting a chain and lock on it? And Vonones explains, that's the way it came. I'll have to knock the door loose and put a proper lock on it before sending it off tomorrow. Or those idiots at Rome will wreck a good cage trying to smash it open and never denarius from them for the damage. I guess the Numidians just didn't have a lock. I'm a little surprised they even had an iron cage. Lycon frowned, uncomfortable at the way the beast stared back at him. It's the eyes, he reflected. I wish all my crew looked that bright. Or mine, Vonones agreed readily. Oh, I make no doubt it's more cunning than any brute should be, but it's scarcely human. Can you see those claws? They're curled back in its palms now, but there they are. And then the lizard ape made a stretching motion, opening its paws, or were they hands? Bones stood out, slim, but like the limbs themselves, hinting at adamantine hardness. The crystalline claws extended maybe a couple of inches, so sharp their points seemed to fade into the air. No wild creature should have claws so delicately kept. The beast's lips twitched a needle-toothed grin, and Lycon mutters, and looking away. There was a glint of bloodlust in those eyes, something beyond natural savagery. Lycon remembered a centurion whose eyes had held that look, an unassuming little man who once had killed over 100 women and children during a raid against a German village. And he thinks no more about it until his friend comes to him later and says that the creature has escaped. And they both know what they're dealing with here. This book is very smartly just a cascade of different kinds of killers. And they know what they're dealing with in Domitian, and he will not tolerate this kind of thing. If word has got to him that an exotic creature is coming to his arena and then he's told that it escapes, every single person involved will be crucified. And they know it. So a frantic hunt begins to find this thing. At one point early in the book, huge Molossian hounds are used. Gigantic dogs that are a hit in the arena, but in this case, this pack has been trained to hunt as one unit in silence and with a great deal of intelligence, and they are mauled too. They are massacred by this creature when they find it. Lycon has the inspired idea. One of the animals in the caravan that most hates this creature is a giant tiger. And he has the inspired idea of letting the tiger find the creature. And what would otherwise be insane, let a known man-eater loose. And we're told this is a tiger who eats men for preference, not because it's lame or anything like that. He lets it loose anyway, figuring its hatred for this creature will drive it, and it will ignore other prey. And it does, but it also loses. In a titanic battle early in the book, it loses against this creature. And the creature gets away, and it is up to Lycon to try and find it against the clock before it kills too many more people, especially before the whole incident comes to the attention of the Emperor Domitian. And another element of the book that is introduced early on is that he's not the only Beastmaster looking for this thing. And this is an extraterrestrial creature. We know that when we see the original description, that it's blue-black, that it has a sentient malice in its eyes, that it has claws like no animal that an experienced Beastmaster has ever seen. We know when we're reading the book what we know Lycon doesn't know, which is that this is an extraterrestrial creature. You know that before you're 2 pages in, that this is not a creature from Earth. They might think, well, Africa is, so much of it is still unexplored, so much of Asia is still unexplored, that this is certainly an earthly creature. It's just one we've never encountered before. We know different. And very early on in the book, that is confirmed, because the narrative shifts to a rather standard interstellar federation where the ruling race needs to conscript a hunter of their own to find this thing, because in addition to being vicious, these creatures are also extremely prolific. They can reproduce almost at will, and they would overrun the planet, and that is against their ethics. It's against their version of Star Trek's Prime Directive. So in rapid order in this book, there are 2 Beastmasters who are intent on finding this creature. They have different motives, but they have a lot of the same methods, and they meet, and they eventually team up. And Lycon knows there's something wrong with this extra person, this Lacerta person, but he knows that Lacerta is almost as weird as this killer. The beast hunter from the stars has been genetically or surgically altered to look relatively like a human. He has a great deal of technology built into his costume in order to help him. Technology that has stunning weapons, offensive weapons, that has data screens and analysis sensors and all that sort of thing. And that's what he's using to hunt this creature. And if he's told by his interstellar superiors that if he's discovered, just say it's magic. That's what these primitives believe. They believe in magic, so just say you're a wizard. And the book goes on from there. One adventure after another, always right on the track of this thing, and it leads all the way to Domitian and to the amphitheaters of Rome. And it's tremendously good. Just tremendously good. Now, if you're hearing that summary and you're thinking that it sounds a lot similar to Predator, to the movie Predator, yeah, there are a whole bunch of elements there that sound similar to the movie Predator. That may not have been a total coincidence. One way or another, these 2 started this story as a short story, and it works. The short story version of Killer works really well. It isn't anything like the novel, except in its bare bones outline, and the culmination is, in my opinion, a little more satisfying than the one we get here. But nevertheless, it works really well as a novel too. David Drake he has been freakishly prolific, just freakishly so. And I've scarcely ever read anything by this author. I haven't read all of his work. I don't know anybody who has. Maybe there are David Drake completists out on the web somewhere, but I haven't found them, mercifully. He writes military science fiction, usually. This is a little bit of a departure, but still very military. I don't know why it was given this dorky cover with Roman centurions firing laser beams or whatever. But one way or another, he writes military science fiction, and he writes a lot of it. There's a lot of it out there, and yet I haven't read everything by him. But I haven't read anything by this author that I didn't like. He's just a really good storyteller, and this is a really good story. This is an old mass market paperback. I think this was reissued with an absolutely hideous cover, worse even than this. And then has since stopped being reissued. As far as I know, it stopped being reissued. And I recommend it. I very much do. I got this back in the 80s and read it and loved it. And I'm very tempted to read it again for the Library Tour of Doom, but I'm fighting that temptation. I would ordinarily say I'm fighting it with the spiritual help of Lord Ganesha, but he's not much for giving spiritual help. You go to him with a prayer saying, Lord Ganesha, could you please strengthen my will so that every book I pull off the shelf doesn't immediately become the next book that I read, considering that I have so much else to read. His response is usually going to be, good luck with that. I must remind myself always that I kind of prefer my deities to be a little hands-off. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. We will resume tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.